Hey guys, project-zodiac here. I'm finally back with a new video. Just real quick before we get into this movie review, I just wanted to say I haven't really been uploading any videos for the past month and a half, 2 months. Mostly because actually, I had a few videos I could have uploaded. I just also been lazy and busy and kind of forgot about them. But the main reason why I haven't really been making videos, especially this one and the Ben Howard singles reviews, it's because when this movie released and those two songs released, I had a very, very strong cough. So it was so bad I couldn't even sleep. And I had even to take days off. Like I was coughing almost every like a lot of cough and like a lot of strong cough for like every 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Like it was really, really bad. Uh, with just like a few minutes in between. So I wasn't sick or anything, thankfully. It was just a cough. I feel like my system kind of received like a shock because it started getting warmer, but then it got kind of cold real quick. So I guess that my system just didn't get used to that real quick. Plus with the covers as well, that didn't help. But yeah, so I got stuck with that cough. And I have a few videos that I did record though on week 3 or 4 of having that cough where I was able to actually talk. And I'll be uploading those soon. I did upload one today. Actually, that one wasn't recorded and that one was an older video. But yeah, I'll be uploading them in the next few weeks. I have a few more updates and I'll give those at the end of the video. So definitely watch those as well. But yeah, I just wanted to explain why this video is so late, and it's because of that. Right now I can talk better. My voice is still a little raspy though, especially because I also did just leave work. So, but yeah, let's just get into this review because this is a movie I was really excited for, and it's also a movie that the series means a lot to me. So this is my third Peter Pan movie review. The first one was the original Disney animated classic, and then the second one was, I believe it's Universal's 2003 live action adaptation of it, which for me is the best Peter Pan movie. Now, this movie, Peter Pan and Wendy, which is Disney's live action adaptation of their animated movie, I was really looking forward to, but there was something in the trailers that was a little bit missing. Something felt a little bit off. But I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till the movie comes out because it looks pretty cool though. Um, and the movie came out, and Peter Pan is something that means a lot to me, and it also means a lot to my mom too. So I ended up watching the movie with my mom. And again, I'm going off of because I haven't watched it since it came out. So yeah, so I'm just going based off of that memory. But yeah, and I only saw it that one time, but I do remember it pretty good to at least talk about it. There's a lot of good things and then a few things that I was kind of on. And there's gonna be some spoilers here, but it's Peter Pan, like it's the classic story. But anyway, so going on with my thoughts on it, I think it's probably best if we talk about the things I didn't like first before we go into the things I did like, because the things I did like was actually really interesting that they did, and I really liked those things. So real quick, I don't mind that Disney keeps doing these live action adaptations one on one to the cartoons for the most part. I just always liked seeing like animated stuff in live action, so I don't mind that. Um, I know that a lot of people do, and a lot of people don't like these adaptations because of that, and they want something different. And a few of the movies have done some different things, but a few of them is literally just one on one. But with that said, though, this movie starts off almost one on one. There's like a few changes here and there, like Wendy's leaving the nursery not just because she's, growing up. It's more because that is a factor into it, but it's also just because she's going to boarding school, which wasn't really something in the other adaptations. With that said, I thought that change was interesting, but I was just kind of like, okay, that wasn't all right. It wasn't something that I really cared for. Sorry if my hand's shaking a little. Yeah, there we go. That's a better hold. Um, so yeah, and then it just, I don't know, like, here's the thing, and I'm gonna be comparing this a lot to the 2003 movie, but I'm gonna try not to because that was an hour long, and I have a lot of things I still gotta do today, plus another video to do right after this one. So, the 2003 one had a balance on its contrast with the colors. When they're on Earth, everything looks natural, and then when they're in Neverland, everything looks really saturated. Okay, when they're on Earth, it looks saturated, but it looks natural. When they're on Neverland, it looks super saturated and dreamlike, and that was really really cool. They played around with the color palette really well. For this one, I was kind of hoping they would do something similar to that, but no, it's just kind of like realistic in a lot of ways, and like in terms of like the color palette that they picked with, it's a very dull grayish color palette, um but it was just lacking color, and that is fine. I don't mind that. Even in Neverland, like, I really don't mind that. The issue is, though, they could have done so many things that was like just so magical that would like give moments of like a contrast to the realistic color palette that they went with. For example, they could have had more fairies, and like we see like, you know, a realistic color palette, and then a saturated like fairy, or the saturated mermaids glowing or something like that, which is interesting because they actually play around with that for literally, and I'm not exaggerating, they literally play around with that for like, I don't know, 4 seconds. It's very short, and that's another one of my complaints before I forget. That scene that they play around with, it is specifically with the mermaid scene, and it's when they arrive in Neverland. So they basically took out the mermaids. There's only that like one shot, and you kind of see it in the trailer, and it's literally that long. It's literally just like 4 or 5 seconds, and it's just the mermaids underwater and then jump and then calm down. You barely even see the mermaids. Um, and they're kind of glowing, but that's it. That's like the one magical color moment that they decided to go with. So I feel like they could have played around a lot more with that, because there's a lot in this movie that is missing. There's a lot of heart in it that is missing. And a lot of that heart comes from the fantasy element of it. And that fantasy element of it is, as I was saying, the sorry, my dog is crying. She wants attention. Um so yeah, that fantasy element of it is what is missing. It's one of the things that is missing, because it is there, but then they kind of decide to not really work with it. They're just like, okay, they've seen like 5 seconds of fantasy stuff, and we've got a flying kid here, so it's fantasy enough. Like that was basically their mindset with this, which is really upsetting. Um, so yeah, the color palette is something that works, and the way that they were gonna that they it looked like they were gonna try to go with that color palette would have been a fantastic choice, except that they didn't implement it that way. One moment. I'm sorry, my dog just really wanted to get up on the bed. But yeah, so yeah, they could have just done the color palette a lot differently. On top of that, the Wendy thing was a change I didn't like. I thought that the characters themselves and the acting was good overall. I'm sorry, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So yeah, I thought that the acting itself was pretty good overall. So I'm not complaining about that. And well, I'm gonna complain about that, but we're always leaving Peter as the last thing we talk about in these Peter Pan reviews. He's not a bad actor, but we will get to that. But yeah, so I thought that the characters looked like themselves, kind of acted like themselves for the most part. And they do something really interesting with Wendy, which is like her kind of losing her imagination. And I thought that that was like a really good concept that they were going with. And they do play around that with that a lot, actually. Like Peter's and this is one of my actual complaints, Peter's not really a focus in this movie. It's mostly a movie about Wendy. And like Wendy is the center of this entire movie for the most part. For I would say more than half of the movie, it's really really centered around Wendy, and it feels kind of strange because the movie is called Peter Pan and Wendy. Um, so I do know that there is actually a movie called Wendy, and it's like a different type of adaptation for Peter Pan. I haven't watched that one though. The trailer looks really different. And I don't know how focused on Wendy that movie is, but if anything, this movie should have just been called Wendy, or Wendy and Peter, or something like that. Because again, it doesn't really focus on Peter that much, and Wendy losing her imagination, it's a good concept, but then it kind of just makes you think, wait, so Neverland is not a real place? So it's like just the kids imagining it? Like, what do you mean? And so because again, like there's a scene, for example, right when Wendy lands in Neverland and she meets with the Lost Boys, she doesn't see the Jolly Roger, the pirate ship. And they're like, it's literally right there in the middle of this ocean. There's only one ship. How can you not see that with this spyglass that we're giving you? But she had to like use her imagination to see it. And again, it's a good concept, but it doesn't make sense with the end of the movie, because then the Lost Boys are they get adopted, which I liked. I liked that idea. And the 2003 movie also had that too. But that proves that Neverland wasn't just the kids playing, it was a real place. So again, that's just something that like they didn't really put too much thought into. It just seems like when they were writing the script, it was like, well, we gotta have a theme about growing up and, not thinking about fairy tales or imagination and stuff like that. But that's not true. Like, you still daydream, you still fantasize, you still like think about fantasy and stuff like that. I don't really understand why they try to make it seem like that you don't when you grow up, because that's not true at all. So I do think that that message, while it was a cool idea, um, it could have just been implemented so much better and touched on a lot better too. I'm trying to think of something. Okay, I got an idea. I just remembered something. The Chronicles of Narnia books, they kind of dealt with that same thing with, I think it's Susan. I actually just read all of the Narnia books a few years ago. But in, I think it's the last book or one of the last two books, it says that Susan is now already too grown up. All she cares about is makeup and boys and parties and thing and like socializing, that she doesn't think about like the world and the universe and dreaming and things like that. And that's one of the reasons why she didn't go to Narnia with her siblings in that last book. Um, but and she ends up thinking that like, oh, it was all just make believe, but then at the end of the book she ends up finding out that no, it wasn't make believe, it was actually real. And because she's now so much older, that was like 20 years ago. So that's why she thought, oh yeah, I don't really remember, oh, let me look at this dress. If it was done like that, if Wendy's situation was done like that, it would have made more sense, because that's what they were trying to do in this movie. So they could have had Wendy just say like, "Oh yeah, I don't really want to tell bedtime stories to you, John Michael." Like, um, but like, I don't know, maybe Tinkerbell will come into the window, but I have to get my things ready for boarding school. But that's not how they do that. They literally have her being annoyed that she has to go to boarding school and that her parents are making her grow up. So like, again, they had a good idea, except that they implemented it really badly. They should have done what was done in the Narnia books, because that makes sense. And then at the end of the Narnia books, she sees like, oh yeah, you can still dream, you can still fantasize things. So should have been done like that. As for the other characters, yeah, so my complaint with Wendy was that, but other than that, I thought that Wendy was done really, really well. Um, John and Michael as well. Everyone was done pretty good, except then we got the Lost Boys, and they're just there. They're literally like a background building. I'm not trying to talk bad about them. It's just they're there. Literally, they're just there. Like they're just extra people on this island, and that's it. It's just them. They're just there. They don't even really talk that much. They don't really have a big personality. I think only like three of them speak. Um, and okay, there's one lost boy that they do focus on a lot, and it seemed like he has like a speech disability. And I thought that it was nice that they were giving some recognition to that. I thought that it was really, really well done. And just nice, to show that kind of representation. I thought that was good representation. And then in the trailer, as you guys see, there's Lost Girls now too. But they go by Lost Boys when you even ask, like, but you're girls. And they're like, so? Again, that's fine. This is a different adaptation, but up until that point, it is a almost one-to-one reenactment of the original. But yeah, so I thought that was okay. That was also good representation. But if they didn't change it up, I'm just gonna be honest. If they didn't really change it up, like they did, because they did do some changes, then I would have just felt like that was kind of forced inclusion. And again, inclusion is important, but it is also good and important to stick to how the story was. Like some things, yes, should be altered, but if Peter has just a bunch of guy friends, why do you need to change that? That's the thing. But the fact is that they did make a lot of changes, so it doesn't really feel like it is a one-to-one to the animated movie for the most part. Again, like I would say the first half of it feels like it, but then when you see the other half and you realize where they're going with the movie, you're like, okay, this is different enough. So it's fine that they changed this element in it. So it does feel like a retelling or a different interpretation of the story, rather than an adaptation of the actual story. Like I said, this feels like a different interpretation of the story rather than an adaptation of it. So that's why it doesn't feel forced, and that's why it works. Now, in terms of Captain Hook, I thought he was pretty good. Actually, and before I forget, because I am gonna forget this, the pirates, I love them. The pirates in this movie was amazing. They're literally one of the best things about this movie. Um, Towards the end of the movie, there's a joke where a pirate goes and said when Peter and Captain Hook are about to fight, and he's like, "All right, you know what? Just wake me up when you two kill each other again." And he says that word like again. It's like, yeah, these two are always fighting. They always get hurt. Just let me know when this next one is done, so I can just go up and clean up the mess. So I don't know. I just laughed so much with that one. And my mom also thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, no, the pirates, and that wasn't the only joke, but that's the one that stuck out the most to me. Like the pirates in this movie are just amazing. There's also a few songs. Let's not forget about the songs. The songs, they don't really do too much with the original songs, which I'm kind of grateful for, because the original songs in the original animated movie I didn't really care for even when I was little. But the pirates sing some amazing songs in this movie. Like, I love the songs that they sung. I'm like, yes, this is a great new original song. They have like two songs. I'm telling you guys, like the pirates in this movie are just amazing. I love them. For Smee though, Smee was just too gruffy. He didn't really feel like Smee. But Captain Hook, I thought that he was done pretty well. I thought that Captain Hook was a good Captain Hook. I think it's Jude Law, his name, the actor. But yeah, um, but yeah, no, I just the pirates in this movie, amazing. I love them. I'll say this: the pirates in this movie, other than Smee and Hook, because I still prefer Hook from the 2003 movie, but the pirate crew in this movie is better than the 2003 movie. Because again, in this movie, they're just too funny. But yeah, and then the, the right. So I almost forgot Tiger Lily. I really wanted the native tribe to be a bigger focus in this movie, but they're not. Just like with the mermaids, they're just you see them for like 2 seconds, and then that's it. So I thought that that was a little bit messed up, especially because they hyped up, having cast like a native act, in like a, how can I say this? I'm trying to find the right words. They went around like saying yes, we cast an actual Native American in the role of Tiger Lily. So they were hyping that up a lot, and I was excited to see what they would do with other the tribe that Tiger Lily's from, but they don't do anything with them. They're just literally, you see them for like about the same amount of time as the mermaids, maybe even a little bit longer. So yeah, there's no big party scene there. There's no big um, like celebration scene. It was just like, oh, I have to go and help Peter, and that's why you see the whole native village or the tribe is just Tiger Lily realizing that something's wrong with Peter and she has to go. So I thought that that was a little bit messed up, a little disrespectful, I guess, as well, because it would have been cool to see them celebrating with them, and I don't know, it just kind of felt like they didn't want to do more with that than they felt like they needed to. But I don't know. But then another thing that kind of felt like it was lacking. Tinkerbell, I thought it was good. There's a lot of scenes though where Tinkerbell just felt not off. It's just she felt the same as the 2003 one, just not better. Like Tinkerbell was supposed to be um, like extremely like rude and picky and like annoying, and then extremely sweet and docile and caring. Like, but this one, she's just sweet. She's nice, and that's fine. I don't mind that. Again, it feels like it's a different interpretation of the story, and that works. But there's no jealousy or rivalry between Tinkerbell and Wendy. Tinkerbell always like tries to even defend Wendy. Um, so I thought that that was a little bit different. But yeah, there's some scenes where like everything around behind Tinkerbell is just blurry, and it literally just looks like you guys are seeing me, but everything's blurry. So it felt really, I don't want to say low budget, but it just felt like, that could work, but she's supposed to be a fairy, but then she's looking like she's normal sized, and then every like the background just doesn't, like being blurry just doesn't make her look like she's small and we're focusing on her. It just makes like it just feels like you guys were lazy and making things look like to scale and blurry, because it almost even feels like there's just like a blurry wall behind her, like you can't even really like see the scale of things. So that's what I'm complaining about, like you couldn't really see the scale, and I'm probably nitpicking that a lot more than I should be. But I just wanted to complain about that as well. And then we get to the last thing that is missing magic. In all of the adaptations I've seen of Peter Pan, his hideout is inside of a tree, and that tree's like got secret entrances, all those things. In this one, it's literally just a rundown building. Like, and when I say a rundown building, I don't mean like, oh, it's like a fantasy building or like an elf building or, a fairy city that, left their, like, I don't know, monument there and the Lost Boys live there. No, I mean, like, it's literally you go into your downtown, it's a rundown building. Like, that's exactly what it is. It's literally a building. Um, so that kind of just felt off. And then it just leaves you to wonder, why is there a building in Neverland? Like a modern day downtown style building that's like cut in half and like as ruins. So I guess that kind of leaves you to have some theories about what Neverland is, especially with how Wendy's situation is perceived. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe there is something there actually, like a connection between the two. But again, it doesn't make sense because the Lost Boys are literally at the end of the movie on Earth and they stay there. But anyway, so those are my biggest complaints. There isn't a lot of magic. And my other biggest complaint is something that they do with Peter. But I'm going to leave again Peter for the ending. And then one of my praises is also something that they do with Peter. But I'm going to leave that for the end. Also, what they do with Captain Hook here is very, very good. I thought that it was done really, really well. His relationship, the relationship between him and Peter, except it didn't really make sense because, yeah, I don't want to say that spoiler in particular, but you can kind of tell it pretty quickly in the movie, but not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. That's in a good way. But yeah, him and Peter have a more complex relationship this time. And I thought that that was really, really well done. That was definitely one of the better aspects of the movie. And it's just, there was just one thing that didn't make sense regarding that story. How can I do want to at least say something without giving a spoiler regarding it. Let's just say this. Captain Hook once had to leave Neverland, and he had to once come back. But it's never explained how that even happens. Um, because as far as we are aware, the pirates have always been in Neverland, um, and also the just like with the fairies and the natives. So I'm not sure how Captain Hook left Neverland and came back without Peter, because again, from what we've seen in all the source materials, to enter Neverland, Peter needs to be there with you. I could be wrong in that. I never read the books. I've only grew up with all the movies. But yeah, so if I'm wrong on that, please let me know. So I wish that they explained that because they explained a lot of other things too, but they kind of left that out. So that was my last real complaint. Also, Neverland. It's a tiny island, and it's beautiful, but they kind of just, you know, don't do anything with it. You don't really explore Neverland here. It feels like you're just in the Lost Boys' house, in the ship, and then that's about it. Like you don't really explore it. And there's a line where in the trailer Peter says, is this what you've always dreamed of?" And I was expecting him to say that line towards like the middle of the movie as they're like exploring Neverland, talking with mermaids, seeing all the fairy people. Um, but no, he literally says, "Is this what you've always dreamed of?" The moment they arrive in Neverland, and as they're flying, they don't even see anything magical. They just see the island. And I'm just like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, the island is beautiful looking, from afar when you're flying, probably 10,000 feet in the air and you're seeing the thing there. But okay. So yeah, that was definitely something they needed to put somewhere else. Um because that just does not make sense. Is this everything you've ever dreamed of when you just see an island? So, like, I don't even think that maybe that was right after the mermaid. But again, the mermaids were only there for like 4 seconds, and we don't see any other magical creatures. We don't see any other things. It's just like a barren, empty island. That's literally how Neverland looks in this movie. So the island itself does lack magic, but it is a beautiful island for sure. It really, really is. The island that they picked to represent Neverland, it's so beautiful, like so beautiful. But yeah, so I just that was one of my biggest complaints. And then there was another Peter line that I did not like, but yeah, that line in particular was when um Peter first meets the Darling kids and he's just floating on that chair and he's like, "Well, were you expecting someone else?" And you see that in the trailer. because they're like Peter Pan, and he's like, well, were you expecting someone else? But the way that it is said, it is a little bit off. I'm not even complaining about that. I'm complaining more about just the way that, like, again, it's the same thing with the "Is this what you ever dreamed of?" Because it just doesn't fit where they say it. It just, I don't know, like they could have done that so differently. It just felt so forced. It felt, and this is one of my other complaints. There was a few jokes that literally just felt forced. Like, oh right, we gotta make him seem a little snarky, or whatever. Let's just add this. So it felt a little off for sure. Um, yeah, again, not bashing the acting. It's just the line delivery and the line itself, and yeah, uh, we have more complaints later on regarding Peter and some praises regarding Peter, but we'll leave that there. I'm just saying that, like, they could have definitely done that line make more sense, because it just literally just comes off of out of nowhere. It's literally like, what do you mean? Were you expecting someone else? Like, you're flying in here. That line just makes no sense. So yeah, sorry. Um, I guess I'm just trying to think here if there's anything else I'm missing that I didn't like. Um, I don't think that there was really. Yeah, no, no. I don't know. I think there is. I'm just forgetting it. It was just, yeah. Those were really the biggest complaints. Oh, right. Now I remember the big one that I'm forgetting, which actually takes us directly into my praises. So the last big complaint that I have, that's not necessarily about Peter as you know character in this movie, but still involving Peter, is that the movie itself just feels really heartless, like it's missing some heart or some fantasy element, like I've mentioned a lot of times. And that also has to do with, like, just Peter in general, and just the tone of the Lost Boys as well. Really, the only ones that seem like they're having fun is literally the pirates. So everything else feels really like somber, melancholic, and I'm just like, but that's not Peter Pan. Peter Pan's supposed to be, going out, being adventurous. Yes, he knows when to be serious. Yes, he knows when to have fun. And that's what the 2003 movie does so perfectly. It shows him, being serious. It shows him being worried. It shows him, sorry, again, I don't have my tripod for this. It shows him going through so many emotions. And in this one, he's just, okay, literally just like that. And it's just, and it's not just Peter, but it's the Lost Boys, it's even Tiger Lily. And that's another thing. Tiger Lily, I forgot to say this, Tiger Lily is just there for a few scenes, and they make her seem like she's going to be a huge important thing, and she's not. So it's kind of like, why are you guys hyping up giving her extra screen time when she's just literally standing there, but she's at least doing a little bit more than the Lost Boys? So yeah, that's another thing that disappointed me. But even Tiger Lily seemed like that, but she did give a little bit more emotion. And I was kind of feeling like that. And even my mom, after the movie ended, we were talking, and she's like, "Oh, what didn't you like?" And I was explaining this as well, because again, like, Peter, as the character, he's supposed to be really excited and having fun, but he knows when to have that balance um, of being serious and not. And in this one, he, even when he is trying to, like, not trying, even when he is being like fun, you don't really see that, but we'll get to that towards the end. He just comes off as being like a little depressed. And even my mom had mentioned, like, yeah, I kind of, because I was explaining that to my mom, and she was like, yeah, you're right, he didn't even really smile. I'm like, well, he smiled like two times really quickly. um so, like, even my mom kind of noticed that too, but it's not just about Peter, so I'm making that clear. But he is the biggest focus because of how he is as a character. So again, that's why this feels like a different interpretation of the story, which we'll get to, because it leads into some of the best things about this movie. um and that is with Wendy. Yeah, so it's not just Peter that's like that, it's the other characters as well, other than the pirates. Um, so it did just feel off. And for the first like half of the movie, maybe 2/3 of the movie, I was kind of like not even bored, just more like a little disappointed because it was missing that adventure feel. There was no adventure feel in it. It just felt like just it's just there, you know. But this is now where we go into the my praises for this movie. As you watch the movie, you understand why. You understand why all of these dreadful elements are there. And you start to understand the direction that they're going with the movie. And I thought that that was done really, really well. Because basically, um, oh crap, this goes back into that spoiler that I don't want to share. Well, we basically find out a lot about Peter in this movie, like a lot. And I think we find out more than in some other movies. For example, the house that Wendy lives in, I thought a great addition that they did was Peter tells Wendy, well, this house that you live in, once it belonged to me and my family, you know, and then they sold it. But before they did that, I ran away. And then you even see like his name carved up in the chimney above the house. And I thought that that was beautiful. Um, so he explains that, and like that's why he keeps going to that house in particular, and like why the kids keep hearing stories about him is because of all the people who lived in that house before had always seen Peter, and I loved that because if you guys see my other videos about Peter Pans, I always wondered like, so how is it that everyone knows about the story of Peter Pan? That doesn't like make sense. Does he just go to other people's houses? But this inclusion that they added, I loved so much, and they added so much development and character to Peter. Oh, also one last thing I didn't like, the crocodile. He's not really there. Um, I wish they could have done a lot more with him. But yeah, so I thought that that element was fantastic. And of Peter, you know, having grown up or being born in that house and going back every now and then to see if his family was still there, because he secretly does miss them, and you can see that, and that's without really going into spoilers. That is some of that dread that you feel in this movie. That's why it feels kind of like that lifeless kind of thing, or that less fantasy thing, and why Peter, the way that he is portrayed, it starts to make sense when you realize that. It's because this version of Peter has a lot of longing. He has a lot of sadness. He feels really alone, and he didn't really know how to, or not that he didn't really know how to. And that this isn't spoilers. It's more me just trying to explain it. It's it's like he a part of him still has this longing and missing for his family, even though he does not want to be, you know, going back to Earth. Um, he does wish for that comfort and that love. So you do see that longing in him. Um, and at the same time, it plays into the factor of why he's not always making jokes, or why his jokes always comes off kind of like not even half-hearted. It's more just like bland, like kind of like forced. It's because I guess like he is trying to be okay, and that's something that a lot of people go through. I mean, I went through things similar to that. So I could really relate to that in a way, and it's like I said, definitely a different interpretation of Peter. So that's why this movie feels lifeless, because that's kind of how Peter and Wendy both are feeling. For example, the dinner scene, or not dinner scene, but like the scene from the 2003 movie, for example, where they're all eating at the dinner table, and Peter's smiling and laughing and having a good time, and he's like, "Welcome, mother," to Wendy, because again, he's supposed to be like the dad, and Wendy's supposed to be like the mom, um, and they're just there laughing, and then you put that into and it's like super brightly lit, it's beautiful, but then you put that into contrast with this one, um, and it's really dimly lit. All they have is like just the fireplace going inside of the Lost Boys hideout, and Peter's just sitting there, and he's just like, and he kind of just doesn't really say much, and Wendy's trying to talk about stories and stuff, and Peter then gets annoyed pretty quickly and he just leaves. Like, um, because I don't really remember how that conversation went with them, but yeah, that is what I'm trying to explain. There's a lot of moments, emotional moments, where you're just like, why did they go with that? But as you start to watch the movie, you start to see the development and understand why Peter is this way. And then at the end of the movie, when you do understand that his longing, because there's a lot of longing that Peter has gone through, but the family one in particular, you only find out at the end. Um, but I'm not going to be going into all other longings that he's been through. I thought it was really well done, and then you look at the movie and you're like, now I understand this, and honestly, that was done pretty well. And yeah, there's a few moments where he actually does like smile, and like he actually makes a joke, and it works, and I thought that that was done really, really well. So again, I'm not really talking about Peter just yet. I know it seems like I am, but I'm explaining the contrast between, they are making you think like this is a lifeless thing and like there's no heart into it, and there isn't. But then you realize, oh, it's because we're kind of seeing this from Peter's and Wendy's side of things. Still feels like a Wendy movie, but Peter feels the same as Wendy, in a different way. Like Wendy has a longing for some other stuff, and Peter has a longing for another. So in that context, I think that the movie title is correct when you look at the themology between the two characters. But uh, movie whole wise, not, they should have just called it Wendy or something like that. Um, but yes, themology wise, they feel the same. That's why that movie is kind of like a dread atmosphere. And then you see them trying to have fun, and there's some beautiful moments, especially towards the end. And another thing that I loved about this movie is that it's filmed so beautifully. Like there's some fantastic shots, and and it's just great. At the end of the movie as well, there is more saturation, like the big battle on the pirate ship, and that's when you really see Peter loosen up. You really see more fun happening. Like the second half of the movie is almost like a totally different thing. There is a lot more fun. There is a lot more emotion towards it, but it's not like this is how much it was before and this is how much it is now. It's more like this is how much it is before, and then this is like how much it is now. Like it's a small increase, and I thought that that was just done pretty well. Um, Given the tone, it's like, yeah, we're still kind of like, you know, a little upset, but we're getting better. That's what it felt like. Like there's progress being made in Peter growing out of his depression and his loneliness. Loneliness. Um, so there is definitely some elements of that. Um, Also, they kind of put Peter in a very vulnerable state. Like and it was very predictable because right when Peter said this line, I'm just like, yep, so that's where they're gonna go with it, isn't it? And it is. And Peter can no longer fly. Um, and I thought that that was really well done as well. But then it's kind of like, but wait, so he only depends on Tinkerbell to fly? I thought that because he's been around fairies for so long, like fairy dust is just part of his system now, and that's why he can fly even without Tinkerbell. But no, they kind of changed that. But I thought that that was done really well, like his struggle, but they could have done that a lot better. Like that could have been a lot longer. Another element that I thought that, so yeah, real quick, because I don't think I finished it, but um, the thematic elements that they did, again, I know it sounds like I'm talking about Peter, but I'm talking about the movie and how the movie takes you on it. Makes you think it's going like it's makes you think that it's one type of movie, but then it becomes a different type. I thought that that was done really well, like really, really well. So that was one of the best things about the movie. And I think I should watch it again now that I've explained that and kind of like realize, oh yeah, that's now that I know the direction they're going in, maybe I can see the movie in a different way as a whole if I rewatch it. But yeah, so then another thing that I really liked is that they actually do something really interesting. Like Peter and Hook, their first few fights didn't really feel like they were. Hook felt like he was having fun, but Peter just again. But that's because again, when you watch it, you understand like Peter's longing in general. Um, his jokes did feel a little forced, like I said, but again, when you put into the context the feelings that Peter is feeling, you can understand why. Um, but yes, and then they do something very unique with this movie, which honestly I thought was genius, and I haven't really seen other movies for Peter Pan do this. Whereas the Shadow, Peter Shadow, actually plays a big role in some scenes here, other than the original opening, other than like the opening scene of how he meets Wendy. Um, so I thought that what they did with the Shadow was genius. Um, I'm not gonna really say spoilers for that. I just thought it was really good. But yeah, then the last thing really I want to say before I actually talk about Peter is I can't really remember. It was just yeah, it was just something that they've done. Yeah, they did a lot of good things, and I know it sounds like I nitpicked a lot on some of the negative stuff, but again, this is a movie series that means a lot to me. Um, and I did just review three of them, um, or two of them before this one, but um, yeah, let's just go with now the talk about Peter because there's good things and bad things. Let's talk with the bad things first. I know that Peter is supposed to be cocky and like wisecracking and snarky and annoying and all that stuff. And as I explained earlier, we don't really get that with this Peter. Only at the very end we get some semblances of it. But other than like the way that they directed him, I did not think was the best. Um, and I don't mean in terms of him always, like focusing on his internal stuff. I mean more about because that again, when you rewatch it, which I should, you do understand that. What I mean by that is they, the like some of the line deliveries, like the well, were you expecting someone else or things like that. The way that they were directing it, it just there was a lot of scenes that it felt a little bit forced. Um, so you need to kind of learn how to separate the directing, the acting, the script, and the character. So when you look at it like that, that's what I'm trying to explain. There are a few moments where the directing did not feel right for how Peter should be and how this actor does his role as Peter. But a lot of other stuff it worked out for the tone of the movie and the way that they had him be. You actually really do get to learn a lot about Peter, and I thought that that was pretty good. But going back into the negatives, I guess the only real other negative is that he's just not as adventurous as the other ones, and that's fine because again, this is a different interpretation of the character. Um, but I do think that they could have had like make the movie a little bit longer and have some elements of him trying to have a little bit more fun. Um, because it just feels so short and they don't really do too much with it. So yeah, that was mostly my complaint. It's more about not the character and not the interpretation and not the actor. It's the script and the directors of how they went about doing that. Now, as for the good things about this Peter, again, this internal side of him was amazing. I really like that they did that. The outfit I was worried about, but it actually worked because like when they originally released behind the scenes picture, the actor looked so much younger. He looked like he was like 10 or 11 or something, but in the movie he looks so much older. Um, so I don't know what happened there, but like yeah, the behind the scene photos, the dude looked like he was 10 or 11, and then in the movie he looks like he's 16, 17. So I'm just like, okay, which is fine. It's just really strange how that happened. And also I wasn't too sure about the outfit in the behind the scenes photos that we got a few years ago. But seeing the outfit in the movie, I thought it worked out really, really well. Um, and then again, I talked about the internal stuff, and I also think that they did a really good job um, with how they directed him, knowing the internal struggles that Peter is facing within himself. When you look into that, he did a really good job. Um, I think that the actor himself is a pretty good, decent actor. I don't think there was anything wrong with him. Again, it's just really the direction that they went with. Um, but yeah, some of the more heavy, tense things, I think he did a really good job. And then the other good things that I really liked about this version of Peter, it's that he does actually own up to his mistakes. Um, and I thought that that was really well done because it kind of showed that Peter's done with his loneliness and him being so longing for things, and it shows that he's also just like he knows that it's gonna be there in him, but it kind of just shows him like forgiving himself for things and wanting to move forward, and I thought that that was done really well, especially how he and Captain Hook have their fights at the end of the movie. Like I said, like that pirate, let me know, just wake me up when they kill each other again. I just love that line. So yeah, you can see that Peter and Hook have such a big history in this movie. You don't really see it too much. You only really get that history like more towards the end, and I thought it was really well done. So Peter deciding to like start to change himself, I thought was really beautiful, and his choices as well, I thought was really well done. So yeah, they do definitely take Peter in some new ways, and I thought it was really good. Um, and that's something that fits this interpretation of Peter really well. So yeah, there's a lot of more I can say. When you see the movie the first time, you definitely think it's gonna be one thing, and then as you understand it, you see how it's a different thing, and it's actually better than what you thought it was going to be. I didn't fully realize that when I finished watching it because I was so focused on like he didn't really smile, or and again he doesn't need to, but like there was no adventure, there was like no heart. But then I realized that as some time went on, I'm like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense. So it's definitely something that you need to watch twice, I think. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. Other than like the big complaints that I had, I thought that this movie was really good. Now, do I think it's better than the original Disney movie? No, I don't. Do I think it's better than the other live action Disney movies that they've been adapting? I would say it's okay, it's decent. It's not bad, especially when you watch it again. Um, Now, will I say it's better than the 2003 live action movie? No, no, not at all. That movie is perfect. It's the best Peter Pan movie that there is, and it's the best one that we'll probably have for a very long time. Yeah, the live action 2003 Peter Pan movie is amazing. So, yeah, guys, that's my very long review of Peter Pan and Wendy. And I I think I spoke way more than I needed to. I'm a little tired right now. I've been talking for an hour and I still have another video to do right after this. So I can upload this and that other video tomorrow. But all right. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you guys for watching it. Let me know what you guys think about this movie. What are your thoughts? And sorry I rambled on for too long. But real quick, I do want to give some more updates. I'm going to be traveling in July. I'll be back in August. So I'm not going to be recording any new videos, but I'll still be uploading some videos. Because again, when I had that cough, I still made some when my cough was better. And I'll be uploading them throughout the weeks. And then I have this big video project that I need to edit down, or not edit down, but like break up into parts. That's a massive unboxing. Like it's a huge unboxing, and it's very long. So so I'm definitely gonna have to break that up into separate videos. So I will be uploading that later. There is a few game reviews that I want to do. They're not going to be as long as my Xenoblade 3 one, thankfully. And I do need to still do some video content on Xenoblade Future Redeemed, because I did beat that a while back. But I don't know when I'm going to do those. That's not a priority right now. And the last real big update that I have to give is I am working, and it's been basically done for like months now, since like February. I'm working on a very big video project, which when you guys see it, it's not going to seem like it's very big because it's kind of a short video. It's like very short. But I've been working on this project for a very long time, and I'm really excited for it. And I'm just waiting on a few more things for this project to be done. I don't want to really say what those things are. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of content regarding this project, and I hope that you guys follow me on Twitter. The link to my Twitter is going to be in the description below, because I'll be uploading a lot of things regarding this particular project over there soon. As soon as I get more things, more of the last things resolved regarding this project. I don't really know when I'm going to be uploading this project, unfortunately. I mean, I've been wanting this project to be uploaded forever ago. But I'm waiting on things that I am not able to do. So like somebody else is doing it for this project. So I've been waiting on that for a while now, and they haven't gotten back to me. So that's one of the big things that's holding back this project a little bit. But this is one that is basically kind of what this channel is supposed to be about. Other than, me talking about movies and music and shows and video games and art that I like, it's supposed to be about things that I like to make as well. So it is something that's going to mean a lot to me. And I'm really excited to upload this and share it with you guys. And so that you guys can hear more about it. So soon I'll be teasing it a little bit more. I've been kind of saying it in a few other videos as well. But yeah, I'm just really excited for this project, and I really hope I can upload it soon. So yeah, just stay tuned for that, and let me know what you guys think about all of these videos that I'm gonna be doing. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I gotta go now and record that Ben Howard Walking Backwards and Life and Times review. I'm gonna do those in just one video, because I do not want to make another thumbnail and then go through all of the tags and descriptions for 2 other videos right now, because I just did a ton of those. But alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about Peter Pan and Wendy. Sorry that this video was so long. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.